Hi guys, this is Sumit here, and welcome to this discussion on 7 ways how to become a super student for life. So the first thing is why we should want to become a super student. Now, given the current in world, where we are in the fourth industrial revolution, there's a lot of technological advancements going on, like blockchain, artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning, robotics. Uh, Nanotechnology and whatnot. And the idea is this new world requires a new skill set. So we need to have the right mindset, the right capability to learn and adapt fast so that we can harness these opportunities. And moving to the first point, this point is more about setting the mindset right. And the first thing, why you should be a super student, that you have to become more valuable. There's a quote from Warren Buffett, who is the in the top richest person of the world and who invests in a lot of different companies. What he said was, ultimately, there's one investment that supersedes all other investments. And remember, he's a big investor in different companies, but he says the best investment is investing in yourself. So why he says that? Because see, once you invest in yourself, you become valuable. Now, let me give you an example. You can see this Mercedes in front of you, right? So, for most people, if I ask, you would like to buy this Mercedes for you, their answer would be, oh, it looks nice, but I think it's very expensive. So, see, the problem is once you say it's expensive, where is the problem? The problem is in the car. You are saying the car is so expensive, but really, do you think it's expensive? Really? Because if it would have been expensive, the market forces, the economies of market would have reduced the price to an acceptable level. But that's not the case. It's selling at that price. That means it's not expensive. So the other way to look at it is, I am not valuable enough to afford it. So rather than saying it's expensive, let's have an approach of saying I am not valuable enough to afford it. So now where is the problem? I think the problem is I. I am not valuable. So okay, so how can we become more valuable? You become more valuable by investing in yourself, right? Giving you another case, take any company wherein the CEO works for the same number of hours like a normal accountant, maybe a little more or less, but yeah, given the circumstances, almost the same. So, are we paid based on the time that we give or based on the value that we bring to the table? So, herein, as I said, both of them are almost working for like uh, from 8 to 6, 5 or 6 days a week. But the CEO might be getting 5 to 10x more than a management or a normal accountant might get. Why? What's the case? Both are spending the same time. Again, the thing is because he brings more value to the table. And how he brings more value to the table? Because he is more valuable. So, the point I want to drive here is that we need to have a correct mindset, that we need to become more valuable if we want anything in life. So, it solves the issue. Nothing in this life is expensive. It's only about you becoming more valuable so that you can afford anything that you want. And see, there's one called a victim mentality, wherein like you blame the government, you blame the taxes, you blame the environment, you blame your boss. But the thing that you need to work upon is yourself. So once you work upon yourself, you become valuable. The things will change for you. Once you change, everything will change for you. And again, I'm telling you that the salary and the job can make you a living, but self education, self investment on a new skill, on a new course, on a new training will can make you a fortune, right? Now, next point is about how to utilize your brain in a wholesome manner. Now, most of you might have heard about the left brain and the right brain concept, and as per Albert Einstein, he said that logic will get you from point A to point B, but imagination will take you everywhere. So what he meant by that, you know that imagination is equally or more important than logic. Now, coming to our discussion of our left brain and right brain, our left brain is more logical, it's more systematic in its way of thinking, whereas in the right brain it's more imaginative. It thinks about more abstract things, and try to connect it. The next point is about left brain being more reasoning, more analytical. They love to have a good analytical mind. But on the right side, on the right brain, it's more out of box thinking, a new way of looking at something with a new dimension, of with a new design in mind. Again, the next point for the left brain is reading, speaking, or writing. Understand it well, your comprehension is good. But the right brain is more about the art activities, the creativity that you can bring while learning. Now, coming to the next point for left brain is linear or realism, which means that it's fact based, it's more factual, it's more realistic. But right brain is more contextual. It's more about the environment. It's more about the connecting the dots. Being interdisciplinary things that gets into the picture. So what I want to drive with this point is that you need to be aware of your evolution of the brain. And again, this is a big subject. I can have a separate discussion on this in another video about how our brain has evolved during the year, and how you can best utilize both the left brain and right brain, to be more resourceful and come with deeper insights. And as you see, I have also mentioned over here that meaningful insights appear where the right brain and the left brain meet. So just being a good student or a topper academically is not the ticket to success. You need to also have a very good right brain, so that have a good perspective of how the world works. And these pretty good books which are top bestsellers, like which talks about how our brain works. And one of them is Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. And in this book he has described the brain as system 1 and system 2, wherein system 1 is more logical and system 2 is more imaginative. And when you use both of them in your work, then it gets the optimum results. So I encourage you to read more about the evolution of brain. So because once you know yourself, your brain, then you're in a better position to detect what are the cognitive biases that are in place, and you take the right decision for your life. Again, I will make a different video on evolution of brain and how the brain works. So moving to the next one. Oh, just a quick introduction about myself. So I'm from a very small town, like not very, a reasonable small town from Jamshedpur, Tatanagar. It's also called as a steel city because we have the Tata Steel. It's the city is managed by Tata Group. It's a very well planned, beautiful city, and thanks again to the Tata Group for that. I'm privileged to belong to that city. And here is my picture, and with my father, a very special person in my life. So yeah, so till 10th I was a very very average student. I think till 10th, like in our school, in my class, generally there were like 40 to 45 students, and my name being starting from S, my roll number was almost always like after 30, and my rank in the class used to match with my roll number. So for example, if my roll number was 34, my rank would be like 32 or something. So I was not on the lagging part of the class till the 10th. But after 10th, I chose commerce, and I got really excited with the finance side of things. And due to the limited exposure, we knew that CA is the best course for finance professional. I went for CA course. Now, just to bring one thing into perspective, my father, in the around 1980s, he started a shop in Jamshedpur for photocopying, for Xerox. And he's 70 plus now, and he still has that Xerox and photocopying shop, wherein he is going for full day there. And the funny thing is, in the 1980s, also the cost of the photocopy was around close to 1 rupee, and still as of today, it's close to a rupee only. But he has supported me immensely during my study period, during my struggle. I remember, like generally CA takes around 4.5, 5 years, but it took me more than 6 years to clear. I failed multiple times in CA exams. Uh, Before clearing, and like at 26 years of age, I didn't qualify, and I didn't had any jobs, and I was in a really tough situation. But I remember, I was taking a lot of classes during that time, and coaching classes and other stuff, and I used to call my father and say that I need around 20,000 rupees for this coaching. And once I said to him, it's like magic, like I never needed to remind him again that I am in need of money once. So it was always there in my bank account. Only once, if I have said to him that I am in need of this money. And I'm glad that I'm having such a supportive father, and such love with him. But yeah, so he supported me anything in my tough period. Hardly anything was working out, but once, I cleared my C exams, and I got pretty good numbers when I cleared it, though I had multiple failures. But once I cleared it, I had pretty high marks in my exams that I passed. I realized one thing, because CA is a lot of reading, I will tell you. So I really developed an interest of reading, and I started reading a lot of stuff, because now it was easier for me. Once you're exposed to reading, it becomes easier to take a book and complete it. So my first so I started a lot of reading, and I started my job. My first company was with Tata Group, Tata Motors. And then I moved ahead with US MNC. And herein I got an opportunity to travel around the globe. I was fortunate enough, and I always try to develop my skill set so that I can deliver on the projects that I have been given. So I traveled to almost 20 countries, and being physically there, and being learning a lot about different cultures, how system works in different parts of the world. So yeah, it was a great learning experience. And also, during this time when I was professionally highly engaged, I always made it a point that I will also advance myself in my learning. So what I did next was I completed CPA from US, which is the same as a chartered accountant from India, but this is from US. And also, after doing that, I also did ACMA in from UK, which is CIMA. This is a business and management accountant, again a gold standard course in the finance profession from UK. And similarly, I also did the other relevant courses as CIA, which is into internal audit, and also an information system audit from US. So that I'm top of the league when I'm doing my professional duties. So me time was my secret sauce. What I mean by that, like how I could have achieved, with a high level of travel and regular work, these many academic professional qualification which are leading in their countries, was about always taking a me time every day out for yourself, so that you can step back and learn something new. So what I had an agreement with my spouse, that every day after I come from my office, like around 6:37, I will take a nap of around 1.5 hours or 2 hours, 7 to 9. And then 9:30 onwards till late 12 in the night, or till 12:30 in the night, I look at my studies, my academics for the professional courses. And again, yeah, I was going office around 7:30, I think I was leaving. So I got a reasonable sleep as well, because again I was sleeping in the evening as well. And during when I was studying, it was a funny part that people used to call us for dinners, like some friends or some relatives, that there is a dinner party, or there is a afternoon brunch or something. And we used to wonder what excuse we need to give, because we wanted for that particular period, to invest time in ourselves. So yeah, it was a funny phase, and my wife supported me a lot. Sabbatical break, I'm currently on a sabbatical break, so almost working for more than 15 years. Last year in 2019, late last year, I took a step back. I took a break because I always had this thing in mind that after a certain amount of years, I will reflect back how things are moving, reinvent myself, read a lot of stuff about different disciplines, and bounce back to the economy or to the working environment. So currently I'm really enjoying this period because I'm learning a lot. I'm trying to reinvent myself. And um, even this lockdown happened during my sabbatical period, which altogether brought a lot of different learnings towards life. So too much of myself, let's move to the next slide. So number third is, so remember, the first thing was about mindset of becoming valuable. The second thing that we learned about using the left brain and right brain, and now we are on the number third point, which is about memory skills. So now, why should you have a powerful memory? See, memory is a key skill that a super student should have. Now, as per Edgar Allan, neurons that fire together wire together. What does it mean? Whenever we try to memorize anything, our brain is made of a lot of neurons, and a lot of neurons fire together, right? To create any kind of memory that you have. So the key to learning is firing of more and more neurons. See, if something is very ordinary, and plain stuff, monotonous, there is not much neurons firing, and then you don't remember it for longer period of time. But in case you make something weird, something extraordinary happens, there are a lot of neurons firing in the brain, and that you remember for longer. So anything that you want to remember or want to have a longer memory, make it weird, make some different connections, make use of your senses. You have senses like feel, smell, visualize, touch. So try to use these senses to make things more memorable, because more neurons are fired when you use different senses. For example, like when you smell a certain kind of things, you might feel, oh, I have smelled this when I was a small kid, and you remember exactly the location, the place, the time, whether it was day or night, and you can see yourself there exactly, because that smell takes you back to that memory. So how it happens? Because again, a lot of neurons get fired if you use more of your senses. So anything you read and learn, you need to have different senses attached to it so that you can remember it for a longer time. There are a lot of memory championship, world memory championships that goes on around the world, in which people participate in different kind of memory activities, like learning the sequence of the shuffled card of and learning different numbers in a sequence thrown at them randomly, maybe like, I don't know, 50 numbers, and then they remember exactly the sequence of those 50 numbers in the way it was given to them. So how do they do that? There are a lot of books talking about the techniques, and the most famous techniques are the peg technique. What does pegging means? Pegging means, like you have numbers like 1 to 10 or 1 to 100, and each number represents a visual picture. So there is a database kind of a thing, where you can put all these numbers, and against them you can put a visual picture. And again, there is a method to it. It might sound very tedious, but it's very simple. There is a method to it, and there is a system to it. So once you attach the numbers with the visual picture, it's very easy to retract what you are trying to connect. Because again, why we do that? Because numbers with visual pictures fires more neurons, and it's easier to retrieve and access your mind. Now, for example, you have 7 reasons for an answer in your examination question, so you have 7 points to write. Now what happens over here is, if you know this peg system of having 7 numbers attached with a visual picture, this visual picture you can attach to these 7 points, making anything weird, and I can guarantee you, like if you know this a system, like even when you are in sleep and I wake you and I ask you what are the 7 points, you will say the 7 point exactly in the same sequence and effortlessly, because here you are connecting it with the visuals, and as there are a lot of neurons firing, it's remembered for a long time, and it's very easily to retrieve and access. So second technique is memory place, wherein what you do is you make your home uh, a memory place where you put different memories in different rooms. For example, you open the door of your house, the front door, and then you enter your drawing room. Just I'm giving you an example. So something can be on your table that would be an answer that you want to remember. The first point. The second point might be something on the kitchen. The third point can be something in your bedroom. The fourth might be in your parents' room. The fifth might be in the balcony. The sixth might be in the bathroom. So different elements of your house, you can use it as a prop to remember your answers, the points that you want to remember. So that's about memory palace. And the third is about story. You create a fictional story about some character, and then you make all the points that you need to remember with that story in mind. So again, the logic behind, or the idea behind, is to be engaged more, try to use a lot of emotions and visualization so that you can retrieve it faster. Now the next point is anchoring. Now anchoring is priming your brain to learn something. For example, if I ask you to uh, read the one book, right? So you can't just open the chapter and start reading chapter by chapter. No, that will not help you, because that is not how our brain is wired. So let me give you an example. Now imagine that you are in a crowded party, right? Now in this crowded party, there are a lot of people talking to each other. There are small little groups all around, and then you are talking to some of your friends and partners, and you're but you can't hear what others are saying because it's too loud. But suddenly somebody takes your name, Sumit, for example. Somehow, even though I was engaged deeply in my discussion with my colleagues or with my friends, I could perceive that somebody took my name. Now, how does this work? So our brain is very smart, and he know how to preserve energy. So due to our survival and evolutionary brain that we had, it always detects the environment around us. But anything which is useless, it puts under the carpet, because it's not useful to us. It just puts under the carpet so that it can preserve energy. But anything that is danger to us, it brings it on the forefront, that come on, alert, red light, this is something very important. So similarly, if somebody says our name, though we were hearing all around us, but we didn't hear anything what others say. But if somebody says our name, quickly we know, we understand somebody spoke our name, because our brain is detecting all around. Similarly, we can apply this technique to whatever we are reading. So whenever we are taking up any book and reading, what we can do is, we can look at the chapter, look at all the contents, we can look at the all the pages in a in a casual manner. Then we need to look back, what are the questions that have come. If it's an academic book, what are the questions that have come from this chapter? So looking at the questions of this chapter, and also looking at the flow of the full subject, how each chapter is flowing with the other. Now when you start the reading the chapter, now your brain has gives you a red flag. Oh, this point that you're referring has been asked in this, was there, the question was there, and it was linked up with the next point that you are going to read. So this is the way you should approach, because you prime your brain. Once you do that, like reading a chapter content and then seeing how it's flowing, and then going back to the question, and then coming back to read it properly, you prime your brain, you anchor your brain to grasp maximum, because then now your brain is alert. It can bring you red flags where it sees that there is something very important or urgent which has come in the examination. Otherwise it would be a very plain reading if you just start reading the first chapter, and you won't get much out of it, right? So moving to the next point is novelty. See, our brain likes new things. So anytime you learn about new skills, or you learn anything new, there are more neurons firing. You have new neural pathways. So this increases our total memory space as well. So for example, now if you are going to a restaurant, or maybe to a tuition from your home, just try to take another way, walk another way. Don't take the usual route. Just try to find out some shortcuts, or maybe some other way around. Because what it will do to your brain is, because you are used to a system, now it will try to think differently, and there would be a neural path that would be created, which would again help you to increase your memory and space. So novelty is the thing that drives the brain activity, and that what brain loves. Now moving to the next point is about preparation versus manifestation. Let me first give you an example. Now you can see the picture of Virat Kohli here, right? Everybody cherishes when Virat Kohli is hitting fours or sixes in the ground, right? Now imagine that what he is doing in the live match is just the manifestation of what he has practiced, right? So the main part, the best part happens behind the scenes where he is working hard on himself. It's exhausting, it's repetitive, it's monotonous, but he is doing it every day. But that is behind the scene. So what happens on the ground is just the manifestation of the skills that he has developed. Similarly, as per Sun Tzu, he says every battle is won before it is fought. What does it mean? It means that you don't have to really fight to win the battle. It is won before by having a good strategy and tactics, and having a good approach and winning it in your mind before you display it on the field. Toppers win the game in the preparation, not in the exam. Exam is again just a reflection and manifestation of the hard work they have done before. So the super student should always believe that preparation is the key. Begin with the end in mind. When you are approaching any subject in your preparation, what you want to achieve, how you want to learn it, begin with the end in mind, exactly how you want it to turn out to be. And remember that once your stage comes, it's just the manifestation, because the real practice, the real game is in the preparation, is in the learning. And the distance between your dream and reality is massive action. See, if something you are really passionate about and you don't want to make a difference, you need to take massive action towards it, because a lot of people are working for the same object. So and this is a very competitive world. So practice is what's going to differentiate you. And again, I'm just asserting that once you practice, once you have the right skill sets in hand, you know going on the stage, going on the ground will be just a manifestation of the skill sets that you have. So preparation is the key. Now moving to the next one is killing distraction. Oh my god, today the number of distractions that you have, oh, it's a very very noisy world, I am telling you. But the challenge is how you are able to shield yourself of these many distractions. Now let me give you an example. What do you think a cost of a TV or a cost of a mobile would be? Let's say a good TV, smart TV might be around 25,000, and similarly a good phone might be around 25,000. So just assume that it's around 50,000 for the cost of TV and mobile, right? But is the cost 50,000? Do you think that really? No, the cost is not 50,000. The price is 50,000. The cost, I'm telling you, might be 5 lakhs per year. And you would say, how is that? I only paid 50,000. See, the amount of time you invest in 1 year on your TV and mobile might be valuing more than the price that you have paid. And I'm saying to you, the time is most important in this world, and it's most valuable. Money you can earn. Money once gone, you can earn again. But time's once gone, you cannot. So the cost is different than the price that you are paying. Always remember that. And coming to the cheap internet services, because of Geo and other service providers which have now given such cheap option, and people can enjoy 2 GB data daily. you know this is really making the world mediocre, because our brain is more tuned to entertainment, and it wants to avoid drudgery and monotonous and hard work. So it's cheap, or it's a easy escape from the real work. Now what's also happening is, the kind of concentration and the uh, dedication level is going down. I will give you an example. Like with a current study, it was found that the average attention span of a person is only 7 seconds nowadays. 7 seconds. So, for example, if something is not appealing to you, you will flip it up. 7 seconds. If you don't like it, it's gone. So, what's challenging about this current scenario is when people are not able to concentrate, they are not coming up with extraordinary valuable work, right? Again, another example, there was a study uh, in regards to how much time it takes uh, for you to get back to your work that you were engaged if you are looking at a mobile in the interim period. So for example, uh, you are like you can see this picture where you have the book and there is a mobile also lying there, so it's a deadly combination. What I mean by deadly is that when you have the book and you have this mobile together, it's worthless. So why? Because as per this study that has been conducted, every time that you look into your mobile while you are studying, it takes approximately 15 to 20 minutes to come to the same concentration level which you were before looking at your mobile. So I see, even for me, I always keep the mobile at silent mode and not in the same room generally where in I am working on something. You can always set up a particular time where you can, attend those calls or look at those messages. I'm not saying to curtail it down totally, but yeah, you can fix certain number of hours, but it should never be done together. And coming to the next point, deep work. If you can, there's a very good book by Cal Newport, and what he says that deep work is like a full focus on a particular subject over an extended period of time without any distraction. So what he tries to convey over here is that if you can focus on a particular thing over a extensive period of time without any distractions, then your mind in a special state basically where you can be in a flow state and where things start to connect automatically, and this stage, where you can see things with a wider perspective, many of people as of today cannot ever reach, because to reach this stage you need to continuously study for a elongated period of time, for which that I mean around 30 to for around 3 to 4 hours. So if you dive into a subject for around 3 to 4 hours, there comes a stage, where you lose the feel of time, and you are so engrossed that your mind is now flowing like anything, and it's giving you a lot of connections. And here is the stage where you learn the most and you make a very the work very valuable. But again, because most of the people does not have this concentration level as of date, they never reach this stage, and this is a loss because to humanity, because this is the stage where you do extraordinary work, you do creative work, and you bring change to the world. So in this world, wherein everybody is distracted, I challenge you that you take the advantage, you be the one who has the best concentration power, and just having this skill set takes you far ahead from the competitors you have. So once you have a good attention span, you are already far ahead of other people because they are distracted with a lot of other activities. And again, I would try to say that be engaged with new studying or reading new book, going to new trainings or upskilling yourself, because the kind of returns that you have, sometimes it might be highly priced, but see, the knowledge, nobody can take it away from you. You will always have the full authority and possession of this knowledge. So I will highly encourage, even if it's highly priced, look at the value. The value might be 10x, 100x of what you are gaining from the new things, and this will also help you to always be on the learning path and avoid distractions. Moving to the next point, your winning spot. So now the challenge is, many people have knowledge, they have skill, they have experience, but they also have passion, which some people still don't realize what their passion is. Again, it depends. For you to realize what a passion is, you need to expose yourself to different things. So once you expose yourself, you learn about different stuff, you know about how different things work, how what are the different stories, and then uh, automatically you will know, what thing you are passionate about. So now I have this Venn diagram to explain you what is your winning spot, to be successful being a super student. So see, the first circle I have is for the knowledge, skill and experience. Now what is the knowledge? Knowledge is a theoretical or practical understanding of a subject. Skills on the other side is about the expertise or talent to do a job. For example, you have a skill set of computer coding, you have skill set of cooking, for example teaching, cloud computing, might be anything. And experience is the knowledge that you drive direct from direct exposure and participation on the events and circumstances. So this makes your core strengths and what person you are. Now, passion is something you have a burning desire for. It's something that even if I wake you 3 a.m. in the morning, you are excited and full of energy to do that work. And with boundless enthusiasm. And marketplace is a place where things are valued. Either your services or your products, you have a value that the customers are ready to pay, that if you provide a certain kind of a product or service. Now, most of the people, I would say, from my understanding, fall in the first circle of knowledge, skill, and experience, and the marketplace, which I mean is the most salaried or job people, wherein they have the knowledge, they have the technical qualification, and they have the experience of doing a particular kind of work, and then they have a marketplace, the corporate job where they're doing their job, but they're not passionate about their job. So what happened there? You can see the intersection between the circle of knowledge and marketplace is mediocre. So since you're not passionate, you're not best in your work, and you end up having a mediocre life. Now let's look at the number two circumstance, which is very common, and which is like you have passion and you have the knowledge, skills, and experience, but there is no marketplace for it. So where, like for example, some people love video gaming, and again, just a disclaimer: there is a lot of jobs now about video gaming, and you can earn a lot of money about video gaming. But just for a person, who just who is not mindful of exactly how he is playing the game, he's just involved in it, and he has a lot of experience in video game. He has a lot of knowledge, but he don't know how to monetize it, how to sell his services in the marketplace. So he will remain poor. So you can see the intersection says this would remain poor. Now the third part comes is where you have the passion. You have a very good passion about, maybe I don't know, maybe singing. There's a big marketplace for singers, but you have no knowledge, no training, no skills, but you have a passion, but you have never practiced that skills, right? So this is a big short route to failure. Why is that? Because there are a lot of competition. People are highly trained, highly skilled, highly knowledgeable, who are working very hard, and which would easily, you will not stand anywhere. So the what is the best, sweetest spot for you, what is the winning spot for you, is having the knowledge, skills, experience combined with the passion that you have, and then you have the marketplace for it. So if you can find something in this sweet spot, that is your winning spot, right? So now moving to the last point, which is the learning stages. Now learning is also has its own evolution. Now if you can see, uh, they are, and again, one thing more I want to bring into your attention, that there is a concept called neuroplasticity. And the neuroplasticity is the condition of our brain to change, expand, and rewire ourselves in response to new learnings and experience. So whatever concept that we had, that our brain does not grow and it does not grow with the age, these are false. If you just Google neuroplasticity, you will understand that this is, with the research, it has come as a new concept, wherein if you practice something, you do it repetitively, your brain expand, it grabs the new thing that you want to learn, and irrespective of the age. Now let's quickly go through the four stages of learning. And the first stage is unconscious incompetence. Let me take an example over here so that you get a better understanding. Now assume that you are going to you have never driven a car before, and now you are going to drive a car. Though you have seen how a car is driven, being a co-driver, but you have not directly experienced yourself. So first stage is unconscious incompetence. What does this means? That you are unconscious means you're not conscious of how exactly the driving works, and incompetence means you're not competent because you don't know exactly how the driving works, because you have never done it, you don't have the skill sets of driving. So the first stage is called unconscious incompetence, that you don't know that how to drive. So you are unconscious incompetence. Now let's move to the next stage. The next stage is about the conscious incompetence. Now what is conscious incompetence? The conscious incompetence means that the trainer, you have appointed a trainer, he comes to you, he gives you all the theoretical lessons about how the traffic works, what are the gears, how the clutch and the gear works in synchronization, how the accelerator and the brake works. So now consciously you know how it works, but you are still incompetent. Why is that? Because you have not practically done it yourself. You don't have the skill set to do it. So you are conscious how it works, but you are still incompetent. Now the next stage of learning is conscious competence. Now what this stage talks about over here is that now you have understood how the car should be driven theoretically, but you are also driving it. You are trying to do it practically. But the problem is you are doing it very consciously. What I mean is, like, when the first, in the initial stage of learning of car driving, whenever you are changing gear, you are always telling your mind, oh, I need to put the clutch and the brake in synchronization, then I need to release the accelerator. So all of these things is going on in your mind. I need, whenever you're taking a turn, I need to look in the mirror, and put the blinker on. So what I mean to say here is you are conscious about how things should work, and your competence also, you know exactly how to do things. But still this stage is not the best stage, because you need to consciously remind yourself exactly how to do the things. Unconscious competence, and this is the best stage of learning, and this is the last stage of learning, wherein because of repetition, you have aligned your brain to grasp this concept totally. So now when you are driving, you are not thinking, about how to change the gear, and how to use your feet for the clutches and the brake, because now by default it's on auto mode. It's working by itself. So unconscious competence is a stage wherein you don't have to really consciously think about how things will work. It will work in a flow state, and you are also competent. But the idea about learning is, you see, that in these four stages, most of the people quit in one stage. Can you tell me which stage it is? It is the stage number three. And why is that? Because see, in the first stage, you don't know what you know. Like, don't know exactly what you need to do. The second stage is you started to know and you are excited, but you have still not done it. In the third stage, and now you are trying to do the practical. But in this stage, you get a lot of overwhelming experience, because you think there's a lot of things to do, and most of the people quit at this stage before reaching to the fourth stage. And as per the study, most, like, around 90% of the people leave it when they're almost reaching the fourth stage, because once you reach that, you are the best in the field that you are doing, because this is the unconscious competence, where you have the competence and you don't have to be consciously aware, but you will do it in a flow state of manner. So anything you want to remember, repetition is the key. If you repeat, the brain expands quickly. An example of Elon Musk, he has other companies for Tesla, but he wanted to launch a spaceship company. And you might also know that recently he had his from his SpaceX, there was the first private spaceship that went to the space. So how did he do it without any knowledge? He read a lot of books. He said that I need to learn about rocket science, and he did that by learning and referring to a lot of different books. And since our brain is neuroplastic, if you read a lot, if you repeat it, our brain expands to grasp that knowledge, and to excel you to the level that is required. So talent is overrated. Talent is overrated, and you need to look into the right approach to learning. Oh, I think it's too much for you now. Now, just the closing comments over here. See, I will always encourage you to read, because, for example, if you are 20 and if you read somebody's work, and people generally write their experience of 15 to 20 years of their experiences in a book. So, what happens over here is that you are 15 to 20 years ahead by just reading other people experience. Now imagine you read four books, so now you are 15 into 4, 60 years ahead at the age of 20. uh, so it's a high payoff ratio if you read a book. And as per George Martin, a reader lives 1,000 lives compared to a man who never reads, lives only once. uh, Also, the other thing I would like to say you, that schooling is compulsory whereas learning is voluntary. What I mean is, academics might be compulsory for you, but learning is always voluntary, and this will help for your overall growth. Again, learning can make you a fortune, academics can make you a living. Mark Twain correctly said that don't let your schooling interfere with your education. And what he meant was just don't stop at the academics or your schooling or your college education to stop your education. Education is a bigger umbrella. And last but not the least, success without fulfillment is the biggest failure. So try to be happy, because like if you are successful but you feel miserable inside, there is no charm of being that successful. Like if you have a big palace or a mansion but you are upset or depressed, there is no happiness of being having living in a mansion with a state of mind. So choose happiness, and it's all about the journey to be enjoyed, because the journey takes a longer part of our life and not the target. So enjoy the journey. And I know this year has been relatively very, very tough, 2020, but let's look at the positive side that we have a lot of home time now, and let's try to make this year remember as a year of learning. So thank you for your patience, and I appreciate. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and like my video. And in future, I'm coming up with other videos about what are the stuff that I am reading, and what are the key takeaways. Also about the memory techniques and how our brain has evolved. And sometime we will also talk about my sabbatical break, which is very special to me. So okay, thank you so much. Cheers. Bye.